the stroke of midnight, India's biggest tax reform will be launched at the Parliament Central Hall.
India's biggest tax reform, the goods and services taxes, is all set to be launched at midnight at the Central Hall of the Parliament. There is a mood of anticipation and confusion, while many are still apprehensive about the implementation of GST and the impact it will hold on their business.
One nation, one tax. That was the philosophy behind the goods and service tax that replaces all the taxes levied by the state and central governments. But what does it mean for the Aam Aadmi of India? Unpackaged goods like atta, rice and edible oil will get cheaper. Bread, cereals, salt will cost less. Milk will cost less, but milk products will cost more. Biscuits, even the glucose ones, will cost more.
We look at biscuits here. Biscuits are being taxed at about 18%, and because of which, if your child loves to eat biscuits at home, the earlier levied tax was about 11%. So biscuits will definitely become expensive.
आइटमें बहुत महंगी हो रही है, कई आइटमें बहुत सस्ती भी हो रही हैं, तो हमारे लिए बहुत मुश्किल है अभी करना सारा कुछ.
You may save on basic food items, but you will need to budget more for items like soaps, shampoos, lotions and other personal care products.
And of course, personal care products like the sunscreen lotions, the shampoos, perfumes, all of these will be taxed at the highest tax rate slab.
ये सब चीज़ों की बढ़ने से घर के बजट में बहुत सारा इफेक्ट होने वाला है.
और महंगाई पहले ही इतनी सारी बढ़ रही है, तो फूड, ग्रॉसरी, हर चीज़ पे जो ये आपका GST लगेगा, तो हम कैसे हमारा मंथली बजट कर पाएंगे.
जो एसेंशियल है, जो पैक्ड चीज़ है, जिसमें मिलावट नहीं हो सकती है, उसमें पहले कोई भी टैक्सेस नहीं थे, लेकिन अभी वो भी 12% टैक्सेस में आने वाली है.
Prices of electronic gadgets and smartphones will rise by around 4 to 5% post the GST rollout, and the price hike is likely to be passed on to the consumers.
There is confusion, some bit of chaos, as well as the retailers feel that perhaps, prices may go up. So they have all started clearing the stock that they have. If you talk about the telecom sector, it is very disappointed because, there is a GST rate of about 12% that has been imposed on the mobile phones. Mobile phones are expected to, in fact, get expensive.
For an AC restaurant, the GST is fixed at 18%. For a non-AC restaurant, it's fixed at 12%. And if the restaurant has both AC and non-AC, the GST is fixed at 18% irrespective of where you're sitting.
One of the biggest contentions with the GST is the rate at which sanitary napkins are being taxed. While sindoor and bangles have been kept tax-free, sanitary napkins have been taxed at 12%. So will the GST impact your budget? Will the benefits from saving on multiple taxes actually trickle down to the Aam Aadmi? Only time will tell. Mirror Now report.
You're watching the Urban Debate on Mirror Now. I'm Faye D'Souza. Good evening and welcome to this conversation. We're talking GST. There's no point anymore talking about whether GST is good or bad or whether it should happen or it shouldn't happen. It's here. Tonight at midnight, India will switch from its current mode of taxation to the goods and services tax. And the quicker we can understand it, the quicker we can get used to it, the quicker we start adopting and implementing, the better off we will be, because we have to find a way to reduce the period of confusion that's going to come now starting tomorrow morning. And that's what we're attempting to do here. I asked on Twitter, do you understand GST? And almost everybody turned around and said, no, it's too confusing. We're going to spend the next 1 hour trying to understand GST better from all our points of view. And our point of view is the citizen, the homemaker, the salaried person or the self-employed person. These are the people we're trying to figure this out for, and especially the small business owners and the shopkeepers. So our phone number is on your screen right now. You can call us, we'll patch you in. We're going to answer your questions on the show. Also, you know how to reach me on Twitter as well. Joining me in the studio, and I'm very proud of this panel we've put together, Surendra Kumar Mankoskar is the Additional Commissioner, Customs and Central Excise, joining us from Mumbai. Mr. Mankoskar, I'm very happy that you are here, so you'll be able to answer as many questions as possible. It's a pleasure to have you. Abhishek A Rastogi, partner at Khaitan Co, tax expert. Agarwal, practicing chartered accountant and GST tax consultant. Dinesh Verma is a tax expert. Pranjal Sharma is an economist. Jhanvi Bhagat is the most important person on our panel because she is a concerned citizen. And she is the reason why we do these shows. Kunal Kamra is a stand-up comedian, joins us as a concerned citizen and someone who's self-employed. Remember, the taxation for self-employed people is also very interesting and will change starting tomorrow. So we have to listen to all of those concerns. Mr. Mankoskar, I'm going to start with this question for you. You did see, of course, someone in the package that we just played out who said, how are we going to plan our monthly budgets? Everything seems like it's going to become more expensive. Is everything more expensive, or has the government managed to keep the final rate exactly what it was, or more or less what it was before GST? Will I have to pay more money starting tomorrow?
Definitely, we need not have to pay more money. Tax rates had been kept four rates, 5%, 12%, 18% and 28%. Generally, those items which are taxed between 5 to 7, 8%, they have been brought down to 5%. For example, milk product in paneer. In Maharashtra, the VAT is 5.5, excise is 0. So 5.5 has been brought to 5. Like in biscuits, in biscuits in Maharashtra, central excise duty is 6% and 13.5% is the VAT. So put together it was 19.5%, now it is reduced to 18. Mobile rates, it is also reduced. So there is a misconception that prices will increase. Prices will definitely reduce by 1 to 3%. In some items, like essential items like milk, like curd, like these, there will be no tax. For grain foods, grains and others, there was no tax. Only fabric will be taxed at 5%. Then essential all like TV, fridges, the prices will reduce.
No, but there was that very good question that someone asked, which is that the products that are packed, where we know that it is clean, and clean food is a very huge challenge in our country. When the atta comes to us packed, when the sugar comes to us packed and sealed, we know that it's clean, as opposed to buying the loose product that's available in gunny sacks at Kirana stores. Why is it that there is a tax on the packaged item?
Tax on the package means if you purchase wheat, if you purchase rye in a loose condition or unbranded condition, it will be not taxed. Like I am a person who is getting salary of around 2 lakh, but I 80% of my life I ate only loose rice of 50-55 rupees kilo. But if the rice is branded rice like Kohinoor and Dawat, it requires two requirements. It should be packaged in unique container and there should be a registered brand name. Definitely they are priced at a higher rate. They have brand ambassadors. They need to do a lot of advertising. They have to pay a lot of amount in commission. So all these taxes, there will be incidence on the packaged food. And once there is a tax incidence, they will definitely recover from the customer. But if we impose 5% and allow SENVAT credit on that now they call it ITC, definitely the prices will reduce, and the increase 5%, even after increase 5%, the rate of the packaged food will reduce.
Right. Jhanvi, do you have any questions right now as a concerned citizen about what's going to happen?
Yeah, I have a questions because इन्होंने जो अभी सडनली डिसीजन ले लिया है कि आज मिडनाइट से जीएसटी लागू होगा जी। इन्होंने जैसे नोट बैन किया लास्ट ईयर में, तो वैसे ही उन्होंने कुछ भी प्री प्लानिंग किया मतलब नहीं किया अब तक। कभी भी उन्होंने कन्वर्सेशन नहीं किया, कभी भी उन्होंने कुछ डाउट्स जो है जो भी ये नेशंस में जो लोगों के दिमाग में है वो उन्होंने कभी क्लियर नहीं किए। ये डिजिटल इंडिया की बात करते हैं। आज अगर मैं कल से बैंक के कोई भी ट्रांजैक्शन करूंगी तो उस पे 15% जो पहले टैक्स था वो 18% हो जाएगा। तो फिर मैं ट्रांजैक्शन ही मतलब क्यों हम लोग बैंक प्रेफर करेंगे, क्यों डिजिटल पेमेंट प्रेफर करेंगे? तो ऐसे बहुत सारे क्वेश्चंस है लोगों के मन में, इनके पास आंसर्स ही नहीं है।
There are answers. GST is not a sudden effect. We started preparing GST since 2010. After almost 100 countries have already implemented GST. We are after 100 countries. We started...
But the question is not about 100 countries. The question is about a fact that a lot of small businessmen who run small shops still don't know how to do this. Government has spent a fair amount of time talking to big corporates. You've spoken to the big companies and explained to them how to make the transition. But the Kirana guy at the corner of the street doesn't know how to make the transition. It's going to impact him as well. Who's going to teach him?
With respect, I do not agree with this. In last 1 year, I am working in Pune. If in last 1 year, we have trained almost 1,400 training programs to the government, central government officers, 700 training programs to state government officer. We have conducted more than 300 seminars. We are reaching even to small talukas, like in Akkalkot, Tuljapur, Sholapur, all places in Maharashtra, we have reached. We have already GST Seva Kendra almost in each taluka of every state, every district of every state. Yes. That is one thing. Second, हर परिवर्तन के लिए विरोध होता है. लेकिन GST we started since 2010. It is an effort of 7 years. We amended the constitution. Lok Sabha amended the constitution. Rajya Sabha amended the constitution. All state government as were supported these amendment, and everything was coming in the press. Everything is very clear. Only thing, it started in middle of the year, so we tried to keep the rate prices just 1 or 2% lesser than the present rates.
All right, let me open up the rest of the panel right now. Kunal, are you comfortable? Do you think there's been enough time to adjust?
See, firstly, I just want to know, what are we trying to achieve with this? Are we trying to kind of see, like, I just got some figures from the internet today. 172,000 people are above 50 lakh rupee bracket in terms of direct taxation, right? And that's of course false, because about 2 crore people have gone abroad this year.
Yes.
Right. So that's not a. So the point we're trying to do is, we are trying to, the evaders of direct tax, we are trying to figure a way to tax them.
Yes.
But the deeper question is, why is somebody evading tax? Let's ask that. Why is somebody evading tax? Why is somebody evading tax? Why is somebody over the 50 lakh group is still not paying tax? Because good things are privatized. Healthcare privatized. Health insurance privatized, good education privatized. Why would somebody who's making money pay taxes?
Let's ask Ram Agarwal that question. Ram Agarwal, why are people evading tax in this country still? And secondly, do you think GST is the solution for that? Is it actually going to get people to start paying taxes?
According to me, it's a conversation just asking people, boss, why are you evading taxes? There are some problems at our end. What are the problems that you're facing? We'll fix it.
Yeah, I love to take this question. I think very nice question has been put up. And the whole objective of GST bringing into this country is to remove this cascading and excessive effect of indirect taxes on the goods and services, which is actually resulting into the higher cost, higher inflation and all these things. And GST has been in discussion amongst all forums to remove this cascading impact. To give you just an example, when a trader buys the goods from another trader or from manufacturer, he does not take the excise invoice from that manufacturer. It means that whatever excise duty is paid on that particular article or on that particular thing, he is not getting that credit of excise duty. So excise duty, whatever is being included in the cost and whatever he is going to pay, because consumer ultimately pays these all the taxes. So this.
So explain this to me. Like, take for example Chandni Chowk in Delhi, which has functioned as a cash market for a very, very long time. Take our Kirana store, who definitely does more than, and the bracket is 20 lakh rupees as turnover per year. So anyone who makes more than 20 lakh rupees as turnover must be GST compliant. How will we enforce, or how will we make sure that these people do become GST compliant? If they don't, if they continue to do cash transactions, who's going to stop them?
So this GST is removing this cascading impact of indirect taxes. So people are encouraged to come into the GST network. That's number one. Because now people are getting seamless credit whatever they have paid in their input. So they are just only paying the incremental tax on which they make the marginal profit. That's number one. So that is reducing my cost, that is reducing my anomalies and the vagaries of the tax. That's number one. Coming to the traders, the kirana merchant, the small people, why they are evading tax, or why they don't like this? The reason being that the person who pays the service tax, the person who takes excise duty, person who pays this VAT, and one thing in one place, that same is being taxed at the different rates in India. So that's the reason people are avoiding these things, because there's a lot of confusion, a lot of burden.
So you're saying that GST is without confusion? Yes. There's a fair amount of confusion with GST as well.
There's some procedural things are there, but I'm saying, as my other panelists said, that Parivartan requires some kind of a change, and this change is not that difficult, because most of the people.
Okay, let me bring in some voices right now. Mihir is on the phone line from Mumbai. Mihir, Do you believe that it's simple and it will be a simplified process? And people are, so the argument that's being made is it'll be so easy to use that people will be encouraged to pay taxes. I'd love to live in a world where, tax evaders actually pay their taxes because it's easier to do so. But Mihir, go ahead. What would you like to say?
So actually, I am from Mumbai. I am a chartered accountant working with an exhibition industry company. So we conduct these exhibitions, B2B exhibitions in certain states in India. Currently, we are having registration only in Maharashtra. But I wanted to understand what would be the process of registering in places where we have exhibitions, say, once in a year, which last for around 5 or 6 days, or maximum a week. So there is a provision of casual registration person, but there is still some ambiguity relating to this provision, wherein we do not know whether the estimated tax which is to be paid in advance is a gross tax or net tax. And I would also like to know that right now the days given for this is that within a 90 days period, you can apply for casual tax.
Okay, so that's a really complicated question. And I want to just point out that that's a chartered accountant asking that question. Not a small business owner, but actually a chartered accountant who's that confused. Rustam is also on the phone line. Rustam, go ahead. Rustam, can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, Rustam.
Yeah. What about an exporter? As an exporter of goods or services, as it is, we are being outpriced by Chinese products.
Right.
And now how are we going to compete if we are going to also pay 18% as GST?
Right, this is a good question, and no one better than Mr. Mankoskar to answer that question as the Additional Commissioner Customs and Central Excise. How do you be competitive as an exporter with paying 18% GST?
See, for making it more competitive, in GST, exports are zero rated. There is no tax on export. Even if you suppose, if you take SENVAT credit on the input or input services and final product is exported, then also you will get a refund. So export will be zero rated. So by way of getting refund of the ITC, export will be definitely more competitive. As far as import is considered, for the first time, import are also brought in the level of local product. Means after paying basic custom duty, import will be also charged equal to IGST. So Indian products will be also with competitive to imported products. So this is how balance has been brought on import and export.
Abhishek Rastogi, you were shaking your head at that question. Do you want to jump in?
See, I think as far as the exports are concerned, the position of law is very clear that taxes cannot be exported. So I think for any exporter for a moment, there is a reason to cheer because the credits on the procurement side will increase and hence the refunds to the exporters will increase. The related point with respect to exporters is that a lot of refunds in the pre-GST regime were stuck due to procedural aspects and so on and so forth. So I think there is a reason to cheer because the government has made provisions wherein a large amount of refund due to the exporters would be given within a stipulated time mentioned in the law. So which means that if 80% or 90% of the refund comes to them the moment they file the refund claim, I think that's a big benefit to them.
But so let's also be honest about the fact. Now, I'll bring in Dinesh Verma here. Dinesh Verma, just one second. Dinesh Verma, I've had people who've called me saying, people who run travel agencies, people who run small businesses who said it's too complicated. It's too complicated to update our software. It's too complicated because we have to keep filing different returns at regular basis in different cities. Please explain to us, is GST more complicated and is it going to squeeze the small business person who runs a corner shop, whether that's a travel agent or a courier service or something like that? Is it going to become very difficult for them?
See, good, bad or ugly, we have to accept one fact that it is here now and it is here and it is going to stay. Second, yes, of course, it is a complicated law. It is not that easy. And the entire scenario which we are hearing a lot of people is, I agree with our friend from the government. They have tried their best to disseminate the information, but probably that information has not reached properly at the ground level, at the mom and the pop
shop or the corner store or with the small travel agent which you are mentioning. What we need is now for next 3 months, since the government has allowed certain relaxation, is to disseminate and train them more and more and more. Law is there, law is complicated. We just need to update them, educate them, help them bring certain applications which are cost effective and which can be used by these mom and pop stores. You see, we are sitting in the studio, we are in NCR, we are in Delhi, we are in Mumbai. Still the infrastructure is lot better. Let's move around 100, 150, 200 kilometer any direction and see whether this infrastructure is there or not. So the real worry for implementation is there.
Yeah, and let me point out on my Twitter handle this afternoon and a couple of days ago, I asked people if they understand GST and if they need help. Someone wrote back saying, I wish the government had done a training program. Yes. So I wrote back to them saying the CBSE has done a training program. I sent him, and this person was in Chennai, I sent him the schedule of the government. He said, all of this is in English and small business owners cannot understand English. They would have preferred if it was in Tamil, or let's talk about every local language. So people in Dadar would have wanted a training program that's in Marathi, yes. Or people in Pune would have wanted a training program that's in Marathi. Let's be honest about the fact that we've not managed to reach all of them.
We are honest. One more thing which I will add here is that, like, we have set up the war room or the call center and everything. I wanted to register myself as a tax practitioner, and I am struggling for last 2 days to register myself. Even if you call that center or the helpline number which has been given, those guys have no answer. So these glitches
and you are trying to register yourself as a tax expert who will help. You're not even going in and calling as someone who needs help. Even the people who want to give help are having trouble registering.
See, we have already migrated our clients to GST. So the problem which were there, but now the government has come up. They want the tax practitioner also to be registered. There was certain problem in the last 2 days. We tried and took the help from that call center, but those guys were not having any answers to the questions. So those glitches are there. That does not mean that we will not succeed. It is just question of time.
No, see, okay, so let me, before you answer that question, I want to make this very clear to our entire audience here. We are going to focus on GST very closely over the next few weeks. That doesn't mean we think it's a bad thing. It means that there is a change in this country, and it is our job as the media to highlight the problem areas so that people from the government can focus on solving those problem areas. So, for example, if there is a bug right now in the system, like Dinesh has pointed out, it is our job to highlight the problem so that people in the government who are listening can actually fix that problem. That is what we are going to do. It is not about whether it's good or not, good or bad, because it's already here. That is a waste of time to have that conversation right now. We're going to find the problems and we're going to try and solve them as quickly as possible. Mr. Surendra Kumar, go ahead.
First of all, training in vernacular language, local languages. Before coming to this channel, I have already given shows on G Marathi 24 hours, then IBN Lokmat, ABP Mazha, and everywhere. We ourselves have arranged more than 500 programs in Marathi. See, listen, less than 1.5 crore, 90% SSE will be working under state government. State government works in the local language. So definitely training and education has been given in local languages. Okay. That is one. Second, everybody is telling that the small kirana shop. It is very easy, in fact. If there is a small kirana shop in Mumbai, they were even having turnover of 5 lakh, they were paying octroi. Even if they are having turnover of 7-8 lakhs, they were paying sales tax. A small courier agent, even if having a turnover of 11 lakh, he was registered because service tax mein 10 lakh ka limit tha. Now the situation is completely changed. There is no tax up to 20 lakh. And for 20 lakh to 75 lakh, they have introduced composition scheme. Like, if I am a small kirana shop, if I sell goods worth 10 lakh rupees for 3 months, I have to simply file one quarterly return. In last 3 months, my turnover is 10 lakh and 1%. That is 0.5 plus 0.5, 1%, that is 10,000 is the tax, which is lesser than octroi also.
So, okay, so tell me something. For someone who goes to buy atta at the kirana store right now, should they from tomorrow morning start insisting on a bill?
See, there are two types of customer, business to business, business to consumer. If in one kirana shop sell 100 or 200 people, business to consumer, in the evening he has to prepare only one one invoice. But in case of business to business, there will be ITC passed on. So once ITC is passed on, there will be invoice matching. For that, we have given a simple pro forma. Who will be the seller, who will be the purchaser, what is their item, what is their assessable value, and what is the tax they have paid. Only these 5-6 items they have to put. Even people say HSN code is very difficult. HSN code is widely accepted all over the world. Even for small SEC up to 1.5 crore, no code is to be mentioned.
Okay, Vijay Soni is on the phone line. Vijay Soni is a small business owner. He has a question. Vijay, go ahead. Do you believe that the education has come to you and it is enough, you have had enough access and your other businesses like yourself have had enough access to education?
Yes, sir. Sir, my question to the panel is, do you think that, as we know, this is the biggest reform of independence India, will it be successful? Does government implemented it a little bit in a hurry?
A little bit in a hurry. All right, let me take this question to Pranjal Sharma. Pranjal Sharma is an economist who joins us in Noida. Pranjal, I'm afraid of us asking, will it be successful at this point? Because we can't go back to central excise. If we decide that it's not successful, you can't reverse this process. Once you've gone GST, it doesn't rhyme, but you can't go back. Let me bring in Pranjal Sharma. Did the government bring it in a hurry? Have they taken enough time to sort of get us all ready?
Well, the governments and successive governments in the past have been trying to do it for over 10 years, so I can't say that it's being done in a hurry. And you've seen the kind of political opposition to it in the last couple of years. No, but to be fair,
Pranjal Sharma, they've argued about it in Parliament for 10 years. But the actual implementation and preparing the ground has not happened for the last 10 years. It's happened, in fact, for the last 6 months.
I would not completely agree with that, because I think the Additional Commissioner also said that the work and the groundwork started almost 7 years ago. But, the thing is that this is something which is important for all of us. And from a consumer perspective, let me place this idea so that, other panelists also understand. When you and I go and buy products of everyday use at most of the shops across the country, small or big, most of these shops accept the price from us, accept the tax from us, but they are not registered. So that tax which I pay to the government through that product does not actually reach the government. There is a huge leakage in the system. So it is affecting me and you, because when we buy and when we give that money, it's not reaching the government. So who's benefiting? The middlemen and the entire chain of retail and wholesalers who are not registered. And I'm sure the Commissioner will also tell you in the last few months and the weeks alone, at least figures of few lakh people have registered with the government because of the fear of GST, because big companies are saying, I will not sell my product to you if you do not register, which means that finally in the weeks to come from midnight onwards, when I buy a product from a shop, my tax is actually going to the government and it is not being wasted and absorbed by somebody else. So look at the system which is going to come, which is a clean, transparent system and a culture of avoidance of tax where every local kirana shop, and I don't want to make a sweeping statement, but there is a culture of not registering with the government and trying not to pay. And this hurts us as consumers as well. So I think what we have, I would not say that GST is more complicated than the existing system. There will be many businessmen, and I've been tracking economic change for 25 years. The existing CBEC and CBDT systems have been equally complicated. They've been trying to improve it. The tax administration has been made to become better. GST is a different system. It's a more transparent system. The way of doing business is completely new. What we are doing is we are trying to change the engine of a car while the car is still running. So there will be problems. And I have to say, despite the government's efforts, the government is also, it's new for them. All the officers of the cadres of the revenue service, for them also it's a change. So it's an overhaul of a complete system.
It's an overhaul of the entire system. And I know that Kunal wants to come in on that. Kunal, go ahead.
See, I have the whole idea of GST is that more tax comes into the system, right? That's great. That's great. But what's going to happen with that money? When is that plan going to come out? It's like my dad told me, come first in class. But he never told me what I'll get. So I never came first in class. And that's what it is. Till the time you don't show a model of what's going to happen with that money, people will figure a way to evade it, right?
But the important thing, if I can add over here, when you increase the tax base, the tax on individuals goes down. So I think that is what is very, very critical.
No, but is there
here,
a commitment? Is there
look
a
at the number of
commitment?
people who actually pay tax in the country.
Let me take this question to Ram Agarwal. There's no commitment.
There's no commitment.
That if the collection of tax goes up through indirect taxes, that direct taxes will be corrected and brought down. There's no such commitment.
I think we all need to understand that how this is going to work. See, in today's scenario, in today's non-GST regime, there is a incentives to remain out of the tax system. Whereas in GST regime, there is a incentives to remain in the system. I think that is the underlying point which we all need to understand. I give you one example. Let's say the real estate thing. Real estate, whenever they construct, they use cement, they use iron, they use all these materials. These are taxed, excise duty and VAT. In today's scenario, all these are becoming part of your cost. And you are still paying, let's say in Maharashtra, 1% VAT, and you pay a better rate of 6% service tax. So that 7% is a direct cost. He does not get any credit. So this whole system of getting credit, be transparent, as my other panelists said, and do more business is going to happen. I would say, you look at the registration number, like in last a couple of days, the registration number have gone significantly up. And people...
Okay. Right. So let me attempt to explain this, and then gentlemen correct me if I'm wrong in any way. Let's take the example of tomato ketchup, right? So it goes from the field of tomatoes to actually your kirana store and then finally to your table. Now what happens is the tax that is levied at the end is actually distributed across the board. So I'm the person who's making the ketchup, I need tomatoes and I need the plastic to make the bottle. And when I've bought it from someone, when I bought the plastic, I've had to pay tax, on that buying. And then I make the ketchup and then I give it to the next guy. But I can deduct saying that I've already paid once. So please, I can take an offset. And then the wholesaler will deduct it from what he's paying to the retailer. The retailer will deduct it and so onwards. So if you work backwards, nobody will want to do business with a person who's not paying tax. It will leave these people out in the cold. They will not be part of the chain anymore. And they will want to pay tax in order to be part of the chain. That is the assumption. But the problem is that if you started at Kisan or you started at Heinz that's making the ketchup, at the bottom the kirana store needs to understand the system. And we might not have achieved that level of understanding. Kunal, I also want to talk to you about, these self-employed, people who freelance, people who, work as self-employed people. The way they bill their clients is going to have to change as well.
See, the way you bill your client is one thing. The way you get money out of your client is another thing, right? There's no contractual obligation anybody has. You do an event somewhere, they pay you, they don't pay you, they pay you out of 7 months. You pay service tax, and if they pay you late service tax, you have to pay interest on it till whatever. Nobody's on your side. Here's the thing. There's nobody on your side thinking, okay, what is the common man currently going through? Let me understand his issues and let me see how can he benefit. Now you are just looking at how can people pay more taxes. And that's not a very logical way to conclude on this conversation. Yeah, there is GST in 100+ countries and there's healthcare in most of those countries. There's no privatized education in most of those countries. People can rely on the government for survival. Absolutely. Here can we?
Yeah. So, I mean, those basic questions, right, which are, I pay taxes on everything. So you pay taxes on everything. Jhanvi pays taxes on everything. Where are the roads? Where is the clean water? Where are the services that we are entitled to as normal citizens? Jhanvi, the question that we have to ask is this. There are certain things that we spend money on as people who run houses. For example, one of the problems that we have had is the tax on the cheapest kind of biscuits that should be available to everybody in this country, the tax on sanitary napkins, the tax on some of the articles that children use when they go to school. Do you believe that somehow citizens have not fully understood this transition?
Yeah, of course. The citizens is not, मतलब इन्होंने
समझाया
ही नहीं है और इन्होंने जो कॉन्फिडेंस देना चाहिए था पब्लिकली वो इन्होंने दिया नहीं. एज पर द रिसोर्सेस आप देखिए 28% इज द हाईएस्ट GST इन इंडिया. और जितने भी कंट्रीज है जहाँ पे GST सक्सेसफुली हुआ है वहाँ पे 5% से लेके 18% मैक्सिमम है. तो वो भी एक इशू है. मतलब लोग ये नहीं समझ पा रहे कि अगर बाकी की जो स्मॉल कंट्रीज है अगर वो रन कर पा रहे हैं 5% से लेके 18% तक, सो व्हाई वी आर पेइंग लाइक हमारे यहाँ पे तो 121 करोड़ की जनता है और वी आर पेइंग हाईएस्ट टैक्सेस ऑन लाइक GST और उसमें भी पेट्रोल और डीजल जैसे इंक्लूड नहीं है तो उनकी तो मनमानी चलनी ही वाली है। तो वो ट्रांसपोर्ट जो लगेगा वो तो हमें बेयर करना ही है, प्लस ये GST के अंडर जो भी चीज़ें आएंगी वो हमें परचेस करनी है, प्लस जो ट्रांजैक्शंस होंगे बैंक नॉर्म्स के जो चार्जेस लगेंगे वो हमें पे करनी है। मतलब इन शॉर्ट जो कॉमन मैन है, जो टैक्स पेयर है, उसके ऊपर ये बर्डन सारे आने ही वाले हैं।
Let me bring in Narendra Taneja of the BJP, the spokesperson of the BJP who joins us right now. Mr. Taneja, thank you for joining us. The question that Jhanvi Bhagat asked was very, very good. She said, first of all, where are the services that we will get and is there a guarantee on the services that we will get based on the larger collection of tax post GST? But before we answer that question, this is the important question to ask. One nation, one tax is a beautiful idea. But why are we looking at one nation, one tax, except for petrol and diesel, in case we need to quickly increase the taxes there to make money? That's effectively what we're saying. Why isn't petrol and diesel part of GST controlled by the central government? Why are we allowing states to charge whatever they want? Because if we had, even at the highest rate, charged 28% GST on petrol, we would be paying about 35 rupees for a litre of petrol. We are paying instead 70 something. Why is it the government is refusing to give up that opportunity to make money that is completely undue?
I'll request you to phrase the question slightly differently, not government, governments.
Okay.
This is, the decision has been taken to actually include petroleum products also.
Yes.
But GST Council, which as you know is a body which includes the central government. Central government only is one of the 30 plus other entities. Central government is one of the 30 plus other entities. GST Council has taken the decision that decision will be implemented at a later stage because majority of state governments are not yet ready for that. As far as the central government is concerned, central government is ready, but the state governments are not ready. And GST Council is a body which majority of decisions, all decisions are taken together by the states as well as the central government. So whenever the states are ready, central government is willing to go ahead and execute the decision. But decision has been already taken. It's only the question of when the decision is implemented.
All right, Kunal, you had a question for the government. Go ahead. What's your question?
So basically, I just want to ask you, the unemployment wages abroad are more than our wages when we take an education loan also. So what about that? When is that going to change? You can take, like, you are just enforcing fear into people कि कल से GST आएगा, कल से ये नोट बंद, कल से वो नोट बंद. पर सामने से कुछ होने वाला है कि it is just another exchange. So what are you
expecting? You want better services from the government?
110%. No, you see just allow me to answer.
Yes.
Allow me to answer. Allow me to answer. When you say abroad, you probably mean the developed economies, OECD countries. Probably you are referring to, Europe and some other countries.
Yes, sir.
India is still a developing economy and majority of people don't pay any taxes. Majority people are not paying any taxes.
Why don't they pay taxes?
So therefore, comparing India with the developed countries like Germany or Sweden. Pardon?
Sir, but coming back to the question, if they don't pay taxes, don't you think it's a problem with the government that they don't trust because they go out to vote? They like BJP, they like Congress. There are people who love their politics.
No. I think it's oversimplification. No, majority, unfortunately, our economy is very different. Majority people are still very poor. Unfortunately, majority of people are not in the same category as you and me, and majority of people are not in the same
Narendra
category.
Taneja, I have one question for you. I have one question
so
for
we
you,
have to be realistic.
Which is this, and it's coming on our Twitter handle, which is we're barely 6 months out of demonetization. Was our economy really ready for another jolt or a shock, the kind that GST is going to deal? While all of us agree that GST is in the long term good for us, in the short term, were we really ready, and did the government perhaps hurry this one through?
Oh yes, the country is ready, the economy is ready, the governments are ready, state governments are ready, union territories are ready, and majority people are ready. You see, the question is that either we keep on postponing it. GST decision has been, being postponed for years and years and years together, and we think the time is now. You see, and the economy fundamentals are very strong. Economy is doing very well, and you just have to look at number of statistics and the kind of mood with regard to India of people who are coming to invest in India or domestic economy is ready. The question is that we could always say, look, for a kind of reform like GST, some people say we need another 1 year, some would say 4 months, some would say 3 months, some would say 2 years. We have done our own assessment and analysis very carefully, and we think the time is perfect. The second thing I must mention here, you see, we have to implement it before the end of September. Otherwise, there would be otherwise we'll have to go back to Parliament. So there is this constitutional requirement also that this has to be implemented before the end of September, and that was a decision taken by Parliament, and this is the kind of decision taken by various state assemblies across the country.
All right, Chanish is on the phone line from Bangalore with a question for us. Chanish, go ahead. What's your question?
I say, this is Chanish from Bangalore.
Yes.
You see, I am a small manufacturer of non-dairy with topping cream. Now, this item doesn't seem to be covered in the list, 107 pages of the list which I keep getting from the government, and I repeatedly keep asking them as to what the applicable GST rate on this particular item would be. Nobody seems to bother to reply to me. They just direct me to those 107 pages list and say, please find it out. Where do I go?
Mr. Surendra Kumar, where can he go to find out this information?
Well,
Definitely,
you see,
that is not non-dairy.
Yeah, there is a very comprehensive list. I think one has to see it very carefully. And if you are not covered in that, you probably can ask the relevant officer in your
Right. So I have the relevant officer with me, Mr.
assist
Surendra Kumar Mankoskar is the Additional Commissioner Customs and Central Excise. He's here in the studio with us. Where can he get that? It is non-dairy whipped cream. So there's dairy whipped cream. This cream is listed. But this is non-dairy cream. So where should he go looking for that information?
I think you should just use dairy whipped cream. Just change your business.
He manufactures.
See, for every dairy equipment, there is also non-dairy product like butter.
Yes,
if you butter, it is a dairy product, it is a 12%. But if you take animal fat, that is margarine, then it is 18%. And if it is a Neutralite, it will be 18%. That is a veg fat. So clearly, you should take more dairy product. But sir, in GST, there is a very beautiful provision. If you have any doubt about any classification or rate, they can go for application for prior decision ki what will be that rate, and it is binding on the government that within 90 days they'll give that is ruling, advance ruling. So this is implemented for the first time in the GST. So in advance ruling, your rate and your classification will be given, and in GST the classification is based on HSN. HSN is a worldwide accepted classification.
Right.
So that
and
is
will this the 90 days then will it give him some sort of relief on his first filing as well?
Definitely, now the first July return will have to be filed in August, but government has given them 2 months time because all people are new. Once they'll understand GST, they will understand that by GST we have not only simplified, there are 17 to 18 taxes has been removed and only one tax has come. There is no tax on tax. So 31 states together multiplied if by 17 taxes, so roughly 500 tax will go away in this midnight and one single tax will come, that is GST. If paneer, branded paneer is taxed at 5% in Maharashtra, it will be taxed at 5% in Assam, it will be taxed at 5% in Kerala. So a market of 125 crore is available to Indian traders, and the economy which will control 125 crore customers will definitely rule the world. So
and you should also remember for those, I mean for services, if you last time you went to a restaurant, you'll remember that other than the food and the beverage, there is service tax, there is VAT, there is Krishi Kalyan Cess, education cess, cess on cess. There are so many different taxes that we pay, and it all gets added up. All of that now gets replaced with one GST. Not necessarily cheaper than all of those things added together, just different. Just a different head under which all of that complication comes in. Shankar Narayan on the phone line from Tamil Nadu. Shankar Narayan, go ahead.
Yes, sir. Hello.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I am manufacturer of incense products.
Yes. Agarbatis. Yes, go ahead.
Agarbatis. So previously it was indicated as incense sticks commodity known as Saman Samagri, including Dhoop, Agarbatis, Samani and Loban.
Yes. Yeah, Puja Samagri was free from tax. Yes. What's your question?
Yeah, free from tax.
Yes.
Free from tax. Now it has indicated just as HSN code the 330741000 indicates that only Agarbatti. So where should I go for this dupe and all, Havan Samagri and all? What is the tax going to be charged?
So this is the level of confusion. So, puja samagri not including agarbatti, not including dupe. Now, for someone who's manufacturing these things, it's going to be complicated.
Puja samagri is definitely exempted. Right. There is no confusion in that. The chapter headings are also clearly available. So, we can definitely tell what is the chapter. So, in 2 minutes I can see.
Okay, so go ahead and answer if you want to take a look. So he'll actually look at the chapter headings and tell you what that answer is. In the meantime, Somnath is on the phone line from Mumbai. Somnath, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm an Aam Aadmi and a consumer. Now, I was just going through this particular program, and questions asked that, what will happen with this extra tax that will be collected by the government? Is government giving any commitment? Now, when I pay today, pre-GST condition, I am paying tax, but the tax evaders are not paying this tax. That time we are not asking. So, is it fair to ask the government at this moment that what they will do, what is the commitment from the government that the extra tax which will be collected, what they will do with that?
No, that's a good question. Let's take that to Narendra Taneja. Narendra Taneja, what is the commitment from the government that the extra tax that will be collected through GST will actually be put to good use?
Well, I think, the government presents budget in Parliament. We have got CAG, which keeps a very close eye on how the government money is spent. And you still have any question, you can always approach in terms of RTI. And you still have further questions. There is media. There are lots of other independent people. They keep on asking these questions. And let's not forget one thing. I mean, let's not forget one thing that, when you pay tax, you also, on the one hand, you have a very valid question. You have the right to ask, what happens to my money? But you also have to keep in mind that majority of people in our country are still poor. We also have a responsibility towards them. We are unfortunately not yet a developed country. I am also a taxpayer. I'm also a taxpayer.
So actually, Narendra Taneja, you've said a very noble and a very important thing. I completely understand. In fact, I think the question was accountability, not intent. So while yes, we understand that we have a moral responsibility to have been born in this country to look after our brothers and sisters, we would like to know how many of them are getting fed? How many hospital beds are we adding? How many roads are we actually building? How much irrigation is actually reaching the farms? How many hungry children are being fed in the Anganwadis? How much infant mortality has been reduced? How many pregnant women are we saving from perhaps dying during childbirth? Are we giving them access to healthcare? Are we giving them access to education?
I can go on too.
Go ahead.
This is precisely what we are doing. This is what the central government and state governments are supposed to do. And within the limited, resources that we have as a developing country, if you look at the record of our government, is one of the best in the world. And you just look at the kind of infrastructure that we have managed to build in such a short period of time. And when you have to compare India in terms of infrastructure, in terms of healthcare, in terms of educational facilities and so on, you have to compare India with other fellow emerging countries and developing countries, not straight away with Germany or the United States. And then you will see that, our country, whether in the past or in the now, I think we have done remarkably well. But still, there is a valid question that people have the right to ask this question, especially the taxpayer.
So let me just point out one thing. This is a statistic that has popped up in the last 1 week, Kunal, that apparently in terms of actual learning, of how much children are really learning in our school, India is at the bottom in comparison to other countries, sharing a spot with some sub-Saharan countries in Africa, that apparently children in our government schools are learning nothing. Up to the 5th standard, they can barely read.
But Faye, the statistic does not have to compare us with other countries. According to the BJP minister, he clearly said other emerging countries. For that is a metaphor for Bangladesh and Pakistan. Are we doing better than them? Then we are doing better.
Absolutely. And you found the Agarbatti taxing and the Duk taxing. One second. Let Mr. Surendra Kumar answer this question. 1 second. I've run out of time. Mr. Surendra Kumar, go ahead. 1 second.
India's size of population is so large.
Right. This will take us into a completely different argument. I just want to be able to answer this question. Mr. Surendra Kumar, go ahead.
In case of per capita basis.
Right, go ahead.
In case of Puja Samagri, items which are exempted are Rudraksha, Rudraksha Mala, wooden khadau, Panchamrut, then Vibhutis and Rolis and Kalavas and Chandan Tika. So what he's telling is there is a tax on Agarbatti. If the Agarbatti is manufactured by a person less than 20 lakh, generally Agarbatti is manufactured by a smaller person, so it is definitely exempted because they are not registered, and a registered person sell to you, it is a tax free. At the same time, if the Agarbatti is manufactured by a very big brand, it will be a 5%. But earlier, when people feel that some tax is high or some tax is uncomfortable, people has to wait till the budget. Now GST Council has come. In GST Council, there are 10 members from center and 15 members from state. So they can change the rate if you make an application.
Excellent. So we have, in fact, I should tell you, make an application. So there are 10 members from center and 15 members from state. All of them are men, incidentally. There's not a single woman represented on the GST Council. And we've made, a representation to this council saying if you're talking about Dhoop and Agarbatti and Chandan and Sindoor and Bangles all being tax-free, we would appreciate if you add sanitary napkins to that list. It's something that we have to use without an option. That particular representation was not taken seriously by this group of very accomplished and learned men, but we are going to continue to ask them. In the meantime, at midnight tonight, India will awaken to GST. It's going to be a complicated period for the next few weeks, but we're here to help out, and we'll keep looking at problems and we'll keep highlighting them so the government can, of course, correct them. We'll be live at midnight tonight with the GST changeover. For now, thanks for watching.